you guys. Welcome back to Friday. Congratulations on making it through another week. I am giving you the long-awaited video that multiple people have asked for, but that hopefully all of you who watch it will benefit from, which is what were the spiritual effects? What was the spiritual aftermath of my 21-day fast, which I finished now just this week over a month ago, which I have to say, in all honesty, I have been putting off doing this video. Like not really, but also like kind of really, because partially because it's been so difficult to like assimilate all of my thoughts from the experience. Like, it was a really deep and really changeful time for me, and I had a ton of notes that I had to go through and try to figure out, like, what do I want to say, and then also, like, how do I distill all of this into one video without it being like 3 hours long, which this is not, obviously, you clicked on it. And the answer is that I can't. So I'm not going to try. In the most recent episode of my podcast, I talked about how one of the caveats for my particular personality type is a lack of desire to want to do something or to follow through with something if I feel like I can't do it exactly the way I've conceptualized it. And so the things that I've been experiencing over the last month, and also during the fast, but during and since, I'll say, man, I'm even having a hard time just getting these simple sentences out. The things that I've been experiencing in relation to this fast have been so surprising in their simplicity and their scope and their depth that explaining it was never going to be the way that I conceptualized. It was never going to be able to come out in the way that I've experienced it. And that's also why I've been putting it off. But here we are. I'm going to do my best for you guys and also not make it take too long if I can. The motivation would be where we should start, which is that there were both physical and spiritual motivations for me deciding to do this fast in the first place. And I talked about that a little bit during the course of the fast itself. And so if you have not watched all or any of those videos, you may want to stop and go back there. I will put a link to somewhere in there at the beginning, the end, wherever, so that you can find the rest of the videos. Because it really was quite a journey, and I'm not sure that this will make sense if you haven't. I'm not sure this will make sense if you have seen it all, and I'm certain it won't if you haven't. So, like, just do yourself a favor and go back and play a little bit of catch up. I'm not saying you have to watch all 21 videos, but it might help because we're talking about the aftermath of that experience. So the reason I started that was because I had been feeling blocked, I guess you could say. Like, I'm a really big proponent of total body evaluation. You know, like mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, like those 4 aspects of you, they're inseparable. And so you can try to maybe fix like one thing or another thing. But if you're not like having all 4 things working in concert, then there's always going to be something lacking. It took me a really long time to figure that out because I would spend time working on one area of myself and leave glaring holes lacking in other areas. And then even if I made progress, I would always fall back. And so I finally feel like I'm getting away from doing that, and I'm finding myself able to move forward as a complete human being when I make steps to change my life for any reason. So the motivation for this fast was both physical and spiritual. And then, of course, anyone who's done any kind of fasting knows that fasting is also both mental and emotional. And so you cannot separate the motivation. Now, spirit and physical are probably the two most frequent reasons why people set off on a fast. And so to do those in tandem is not that big a deal to me. I needed to reclaim my body back from itself. Like, I needed my spirit to be taking over instead of my body. I had to stop using corporeal motivations to make daily decisions, especially in the realm of eating. And then I also knew that as I was doing that, I would attenuate. And that was going to be a plus because I also needed to do that too because of letting my body make decisions that ended up not being good for it. So I let myself become damaged. And now that I've given myself the room to treat my body the way it needs to be treated, I can trust what it tells me. I really hope that makes sense. Like, I'm always saying listen to your body, but if you're not treating yourself properly, your body's going to be telling you to do things that hurt it. I had set up a pattern that was harming me, and then by only listening to the manifestations of that pattern, I was creating additional damage when really what I needed was change. And so I decided to do something drastic, like not eat for 21 days straight. And a lot of people would say, man, that's crazy. I think a lot of people think that a lot of things that I do don't make any sense. But I would also say that a lot of those people are like miserable. And I am happy. So you do you. And I'll be over here not listening to you. I'm not trying to be callous or arrogant. I'm just saying the time in my life where I let people whose lives are heading in a direction that I don't want to go in try to inform the decisions that I make is long since past. And if it's not for you, you need to investigate a way that you can get yourself to a place where people who don't have your best interests in mind stop feeding and influencing what you do. So clearly, things like that were a part of my spiritual journey, which was like amassing additional strength to move forward in my life in a positive direction. So that was one of the main things that happened. Wresting control of how I treat my body back from itself was one of the main things. And I really feel like I was supernaturally empowered during that 21 days because the way that I have felt since that ended can't be explained. I've been struggling with the way that I eat and the way that I feel and the way that my body exists for years, like my whole life, like since I was in elementary school. I'm not going to go into the very long story, but I had a very traumatic experience happen to me while I was in elementary school, and then absolutely no help to deal with it. And so food became my coping mechanism, and then that survival instinct. I was reading something earlier that said, like, you can forgive yourself for bad choices that you made when you were just trying to survive, because you were literally just trying to keep yourself together day to day. And so now when you're doubling back to try to correct some of those things, don't just like hammer yourself. Give yourself some grace. And so I did some of that too, because I had to recognize that the situation I was in, yeah, it was caused by me, but it started so long ago and when I was so young that I literally didn't recognize A, what I was doing, or B, that there was any other recourse. So I developed patterns so early. It's taken so long to break them. And that's why I feel like there's been a supernatural change, because the things that used to trip me up all the time don't even faze me anymore. And that is not me. I know me. I've been with me this whole time. I know how I feel about things, and the way that I feel about my body right now and taking care of it. I've never felt like this before. It's really cool. I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful to God for making it possible for me to feel like there's the other side. You know, like I've been on this side of it for a really long time, and I never felt like I could breach this wall to get over to the other side, which would be health and healing. And it's something that we all need, and it's something that a lot of us are looking for. Why else would you be here? I mean, like, why else would you fast, really? Like, people don't just, like, stop eating for fun. No, people don't just stop eating for fun. I was going to think, like, there's always a reason. And there's always a reason behind it that is centered in health or healing. Is it spiritual health? Is it physical health? Is it there's some sort of issue that needs healing? You know, there's always something that wants to be made better when someone is looking into fasting, and I am no different. I would assert that you are probably no different. There's something you want to be better, and you're hoping that fasting is going to help you get to that place. And for me, it's been helping. Do you have to do a 21-day fast to obtain this type of physical and spiritual enlightenment? I don't know, because this is my journey and you're on your journey. I cannot tell you what to do. I can only tell you what I am doing and then what happened afterwards. And then I hope that it doesn't give you my journey, it gives you the freedom to explore your journey and then move forward in a way that works best for you. Because some of the most impactful people in my life were not people who told me what to do. They were people who told me that what I did next was up to me. And that is a very powerful statement. Now, because the spiritual aspects of my life over the last 3 or 4 years have grown increasingly important, I mean, I put an asterisk next to that, because it's up to me, but really it's up to God, because He is the person around whom my personal decisions are centered. But whether that describes you or not, what you do next is always up to you. And if no one else empowers you like that, I just want to give that to you right now. Okay. One of the other really, I don't know if it was like super unexpected or not, but one of the other really nice things, spiritual things that happened to me during that fast was I got to have really positive and meaningful interactions with my people. So what do I mean by my people? I have this like little group of people that I feel like God has given me to take care of. It's more than 2 and it's less than 10. That's what I'll say. But I've been given this little cohort to be responsible for, and that is what I do. I take care of them. And in turn, I feel like I get a lot of like emotional and spiritual benefit from that. Sometimes it's really hard. There are things about each of those people that is drastically different from the way that I am, and so to try to relate to them in a way that is helpful to them is sometimes a really challenging thing for me, but it gets me out of my comfort zone and it gets me out of myself, and that's always a good thing, especially for an introvert like me, where like living inside myself is a very comfortable place for me to stay, and to extend outside of that is always difficult. But I also do this because I want to help you guys, and the things that I do for them is because I want to help them, and there's a huge benefit in life to coming outside of yourself to help someone else. And so for different reasons, I got to interact with I almost said the number, with all of them during the course of that 3-week time frame, which was unexpected because I don't live near all of them. I don't see or talk to all of them on a regular basis. Some of them I do, some of them I don't. But so to have like sort of this intersection of all of them during that time frame was, again, to me, like a spiritual bolstering, because it's always, I love all of them. And so it's a treat for me to get to interact with them at any level, one or two or whatever. But for all of them, that was really cool. And for all of those interactions to be positive, because just because you care about someone, you're trying to make decisions about your contact, about your conduct that would benefit them, doesn't always mean that they want to receive that. And so everything was like super positive, and that was really meaningful to me. Yeah. So again, that was like a spiritual part of that experience, because I spend a lot of time praying for those people and serving them in various ways, and to see a positive return from that during the time that I was also really devoting myself to making wise choices for definitely partially spiritual motivation felt like a really good return. And I was very grateful for that. Financially, the last time I did a major fast like this, I also had this sort of like really big financial thing happen to me. And a lot of people think that you're right, financial health comes from God in part, and it does, because everything good in life, I believe, comes from God. And so it's not to say that I didn't have a part in it. I did. The thing that happened last year, I had a part in. The thing that happened this year, I had a part in. But it also felt like a huge blessing, and it happened during the course of that 3 weeks, right at the end of it, actually. And so it felt like this culmination. Not like a prize, but like the day that it happened was like a big, meaningful day for me. And I just know that the way that all that lined up, again, wasn't something that I had set up. It was just like God working things out, so that when I noticed it and realized it, I was like, oh my word, you did that. Like, I didn't do that. I just like have been on this fast trying to get it together. And then all of these other things were happening outside of me, but then that also influenced and impacted me in positive ways. Way more than I feel like would have happened otherwise, or like would normally happen in any given 3-week period of my lifetime. Does that make sense? So like a lot of things happened concurrently that I was not in control of, but that were very positive for me. And so I don't believe in coincidence. The only way that could have all happened was if God was controlling it. And so for me, that was one of the spiritual benefits of doing that fast, that he like orchestrated all these things, people things and money things and personal things and health things. And like it all just came together to this really incredible experience. Wow. I don't know how many of you are going to like watch this long, but if you have made it to this point, thank you. But I'm going to wrap it up, so hold on. I think one of the most overwhelming things that I've been left with after doing this huge, intense thing, that upon going into it, part of me wasn't even sure I could do it. Once I started it, I knew I could. Again, that was one of the spiritual benefits. I knew. I was talking to a friend about it, actually, who found out about the fast because she saw a video on my channel, and she texted me and she was like, are you in a 21-day fast? I was like, yes, I am. And I would consider her another spiritual person. So I was just basically explaining like some of the spiritual motivation behind it, and saying like, I know it sounds crazy, but I feel like God has led me to do this, and I know it's going to work. Like, and there wasn't really more I could say about it than that. And it was the truth. But I've been left with this like equilibrium and contentment and calm. God had already been developing a lot of that in me already. And I really appreciate like those of you who have mentioned that. I'm glad that you can feel it. It's a part of my presence that I try to bring with me everywhere I go. Like, we're gonna be calm and happy. Like, if you can take those two words with you throughout the day, it just makes life feel a lot more manageable to me. And in the middle of everything that we're going through, to be able to find reserves deep within me that were placed there by someone else, that well up and manifest themselves in calm and happiness, feels like such a privilege and a blessing. And so if I can lend even a little bit of that to other people, including you, then I'm glad for it, because we could all use a little more of it right now. But even now that I'm back to eating normally, I still have it. I still feel it, and more than I did before. Like, everything's gonna be okay. That's how I feel. And things that have been bothering me for years have like faded into the background. And that's been really powerful. Yeah. So, ta-da! Thank you for the people who asked me to do this. This definitely stretched me, and personal growth, I always feel, is positive exercise, even if it takes you a little bit to get there. If you have any questions, if anything I said brought up any questions, please feel free to ask. As always, I'm happy to help. Thank you for watching the whole thing. You get a gold star. Click subscribe if you haven't done that already, and I will see you guys again next week. Now, I feel like this is sort of putting closure on the 21-day fast related videos. Don't feel like you can't ask me about that again, but this is sort of the last thing I was planning on shooting for a while that referenced it directly. So we're going to be, I have other things planned for you guys, so we'll be moving forward from that, but I didn't want to move forward without doing this. I mean, I feel like the effects of this are going to be radiating out through my life for a really long time, but I'm not going to be talking about it as much from now on. We can talk about other things. So tell me about your fasts. I love it when you guys say, tell me where you are or ask me a question. If you want encouragement and stuff, I try to get in there and do comments like once or twice a week. So if you haven't heard from me, I'm not ignoring you. I'm getting there. So I will see you guys soon. Have an awesome weekend. Take care of yourself.